Hello, everybody. How you doing? Tony and Bruce and Joe and Javier and Colin, Richard. Hey, Geezer. Good to see you again. Mark. Hi, Mark. How are things out in Washington? Ah, well, still got this. I've been wearing this probably a lot because I got it back from service a few days ago, and it's been gone. Gee, it was gone over a month at the down in Miami, and so now it's like getting a new watch. So my Parmigiani Fluide, what's it called? Colpa Grande. Okay. Hey, Clyde, how you doing? Hi, Mark. Um, what what I was hoping that we could do. We talked this morning about, well, what's going on with the Grand Prix, and to what extent is it oh sort of like a bogus advertising scam versus to what is it to what extent is it uh, a real contest where the watches are compared and judged and so on and so forth. Um, my own experience with them, it's a little of fulverall, I guess, or baloney, and but most of it, I think, is a really pretty much upfront contest. So so anyway, that's sort of wanted to talk a little more about. Plus, what I was hoping we could do is saying, okay, well, what kind of criteria do they use? For these for the different watches. Um, Now, as far as I know, hi, Mr. Gumby. As far as I know, um, oh, hey, you got your Moser back from Europe, Mark. Great. Hi, Orange Hand, William. Hey, Junior. Good to see you again. Um, what is so? How do they judge it? I have a couple watches here, and they both work. This is my Seiko 5. This is my Christian Vanderklaw series. Now, if these were put in the same category, this one would probably win. But this is an awfully, good, tough little watch, a little Seiko 5. And so what are they? How do they look at these things and make the decisions? So that's sort of what I wanted to kick around, because if they do distinguish, and sometimes I know it's almost impossible. I was looking at the finalists and the men's complication, and some of those categories, and it's it's almost impossible because there are so many watches that are so good. Um, there were a lot of watches in the men's category, I think, to begin with, and that's one of the roughest ones. And so the ones that came out, though, are, I think, they a lot of them were from the independents, and the independents go off and they do stuff, really great stuff. For example, the one by hand by uh, Forsay and what is it now? It's not Grubel and Forsay. That one, I mean, it was like it was incredible. So anyhow, I was disappointed with the first round voting. Watches that should have been in the top 6 did not make it to the second round. Joseph, that happens to me every year. You see some, you say, well, how come they didn't put this one up, and how come they did this one? And the thing that I found that is helpful, if by thinking about that and looking at it, maybe you find out, or you may say, well, I don't think that they did it right, but it's worth looking at, I think, and because it's worth looking at, it's we find out something about watches. Um, What I wonder is if the judges seen it all, does it need to be something really out there just to get their attention? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I think if you have, let's say, you have two watches, and one has just incredible finishing on it, as well as very functional features. Everything is working, and they have another one and not quite so much. So I think the one with the better finishing would win. I mean, you have to say all things being equal, what else do you have to take in consideration? And I think that's why some watches that are deservedly so don't make it. One of the watches that, to me, never made it to the first round. This is a few years ago. Was won by Van Cleef and Arpels, and that was their, what's it called? Or DC at, or say something else. Anyway, what it means is hours here and hours elsewhere. It's a dual time one with the retrograde movement and the retrograde minutes, and then jumping hours for two different time zones. That thing never made it. I couldn't believe it. And the whole entire movement was done by Agenor, which usually just, there were three watches in this last, in the whole thing. All three of them made it to the finalist. They make those kinds of things. So when nothing happened to, I was very surprised. But I think it went into a tough category, and maybe they figured, well, all it does is two time zones. So what? That could have been it, even though the movement was just amazing, and it still is. So it's hard to tell sometimes. Hi, Hans. How you doing? Let's see. Joseph. Yeah, I. The judge I know, I thought he saw all of them in person, but I guess maybe not. Especially during the pandemic, they were afraid to get the bug. That'll be interesting. I guess in this second round, what they have. This is the other part that a lot of people were talking about as being very commercial. Yeah. Bruce, yeah, Harboring 2 did make it in the petite aiguille category. But one of the things, and I think this is a good thing for companies, little companies, and they have watches either under 10,000 or under 4,000, and they want to get it out there. You spend $500 for your entry fee into it, or 500 Swiss francs. And then if you make it to the second round, you pay 5,500 for it to go on a grand tour. Well, that 5,500 bucks. So you figure 6,000 Swiss francs. That would be the total if you made it to the first round. $6,000 in advertising never will give you that exposure. Because now you have, you got your watch showing there with the likes of Kari Voutilanen and Gerbel and Forsey, De Booth, just all of these great watchmakers. And, even though they lose, still, I mean, it's really good. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, Mark, yeah, Van Cleef and Arpels, they have like 3 or 4, I think, in the finals, Mark. The one I was talking about, though, you're right, it was a Van Cleef and Arpels. The one that the hours here and hours there that went nowhere. The Chrono Felix Panda by Harboring 2 is a brilliant watch. Yeah, I've got no Hans. The Chrono Felix, I don't know. I have I like the watch, but I think that it's I don't know how different it is from some of their other watches. Of course, when you look at Tudor, Tudor has won again and again and again with their Black Bay, and then they got another Black Bay and made to the second round. I don't know. We'll see. Um, okay. Hi, Maurizio. How you doing? Um, hey, Truth Fears. Good to see you. Let's see. We have so let's talk about that. What could they use as a criteria? Now you have a handmade watch with hand done on glass with you have a rounded on glass instead of a sheer one. Okay, those things those make differences. All other things being equal, but when you have a handmade watch with a handmade tourbillon, man, that's those are that would be tough. Okay, what are you guys doing? Only if I sell and promise my son all my watches. Okay, who gives him the most bribe? Geezer, come on. You know, I from what I understand, I don't know. Maybe there is some bribery. But I've never heard of that happening. This is, it's easy to say because your watch didn't win. You say, "Oh, they must have bribed the other guy," but that's not that's not. I don't think they're doing that. Um, and the problem with bribes, if one watch company does it, then another can do it, and then everybody is, you end up with the same kind of thing. Here's another reason why I don't think that. Look at Harboring two people from Austria, some little town in Austria. They've been winning these things like mad. They've won a total of four, and they can't afford the bribes that some of these bigger companies can. Anyway, hey, Clam Walker, how you doing? Um, Original, innovative, cohesive, and aesthetically pleasing dial, crown, hands, case, two in-house innovative movement, preferably well finished. Yep, that's pretty much it, Joe. That's it. Um, oh boy, what about Jacob and Company? I don't know. Jacob the jeweler. I've always seen him as pretty much of a hustler, to tell you the truth. And he went to some quickie jewelry place and comes out and starts making all of these watches with just really with tons and tons of bling to them. And then got some kind of watch maker in Switzerland to work with him. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, those guys are pumping a lot of money into showing up, and they must have a reason for doing it. Because last year the same thing happened. They had, I think, two or three that made it to the nomination stage, but then they didn't win. They never have won, and I think that's going to be a very interesting thing. And I think they nail them on the movement. Some of the watches they have, like in the jewelry, that thing is like, I think it's like $3 million or something crazy like that. It's got a tourbillon in it. Who knows? I have no idea what's going to happen with those guys. And maybe I'm just a little too prejudiced about Jacob the jeweler. He had to go to prison because he was involved in money laundering and a lot of other stuff. And that's like, some guy turns it around. It's okay. It's funny. One of my favorite watch movements is a Jacquet 736, and Pierre Jacquet, something maybe Jean Pierre. He had to go to prison because he and his buddies were, I think here they had a successful business making movements. They weren't making a huge amount of money, and so they said, well, they like to have a huge amount of money. So they went and they stole a bunch of Rolex cases and, rob them. And then they were going to make phony baloney, counterfeit Rolexes and sell them. So I think in 2008, he had to go to prison and was banned from the watch business. On the other hand, Jacob the jeweler, he comes out of prison and whoops. Hey, Donald, how you doing, man? Are you at work? Every day's a work day. Everyone's at home working. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. Okay, let's see. Jacob's cream crackers. Greed is a terrible thing. I know. Look at us. I think we'd do terrible things to her mother if it was for the right watch. We'd turn her in for making counterfeit cookies or something. I don't know. Oh, okay. All right. Well, let's see. So what do you guys think? I mean, there's how can we best use what we can learn from the Grand Prix d'Horologie? I think right away is that we're introduced to a lot of watches that a lot of people have never heard of. In this last one, there were some really interesting watches I had never heard of before, but that doesn't mean anything because I haven't heard of it. In fact, I see that as, hey, something new to learn. And in watch collection, I think there's always going to be something fun and new to learn. Earlier today, Clyde and I spent a good part of the afternoon trying to run down a movement. And eventually we did, and we got information from, in fact, had to send a WhatsApp to Switzerland to get some confirmation on what we had found. That's a lot of fun. We spent a lot of time doing that. And so, it's that kind of thing to me that makes a watch collection the most interesting. We were talking about James, son of what? Greed, for want of a better word. Yeah, I'm only 32. Cleanses. There's a guy, the other ones I like, there's a young guy, a French guy. He's in his 20s, I think, and he has these incredible watches, and I think his was in the finalists for the chronometers. That's a tough category when you take a look at who's in it. And the chronometer, I think, is one of the most important categories because it talks about having a very high level of accuracy for the unwinding of the spring. Horological detectives, that's what we were. I like to refer to it as Madison Avenue irregulars, but horological detectives is okay too. Bayhern's has interesting designs, but their watches seem to be cheaply made. Joseph, that was one of the ones I was thinking about. But in one of the categories, they made it, in fact, I think in two categories, they made it to the finals. Like you say, they got some very interesting designs, both of their movement as well as a watch. But if you got a bunch of cheap tinny stuff in there, it doesn't go over too well. Who won? What do you mean, Hans? Who won? He said, like, Hans, if you're watching your cat videos and trying to keep up with us, there may be a problem. Oh, anyone owns a Bayhern's? I don't think so. In the race, okay. He coughed, run for your life. Yeah, I'll have to. I should wear one of those plastic screens and have a mask and so forth, so that all of you children are safe out there. There used, I think, what was it? The old Hill Street Blues at the end of every roundup that say, okay, be careful out there. That's true enough. 1-1 against the Irons. Hans, what are you talking about? You've got like, he's like, I'm looking at here's my cat video. I'm looking at that. Oh, yeah. Oh, let's be careful out there. That's right. That's the one, Clyde. It's hard to judge watches without seeing them in person. Joseph, I think you're right. I think there's, most of the watches I bought, the great majority, I never saw one, even the kind I wanted before I ordered it. I'd never seen one of these before, or I'd never handled a Seiko 5 or a Culpa. All of these I got without that, but I read a lot about them and so forth. One of the things, though, and this is what I think that Clyde and I found out today, man, there is a lot of misinformation. I contacted a store in Miami. They had a picture of the movement, and it was clearly a manual, and it had it listed as automatic. I don't think they had a clue in the world of what was in their watch, but it's this is why I don't give a lot of credence to certain. People are in the watch business or in it to sell it, not necessarily to know as much as I think they should. You ran down a movement. Yep, Clyde did it first. Yeah, he beat me to it. I got the number first, but then he got the type of movement first. So, yeah, and then I confirmed it too. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That is more fun doing that. I spent days trying to find out a movement. This is the thing about this too. Is that why should we have to do that? Well, someone says this is the movement in here. And we still haven't found out what the frequency on it is. So we're gonna have to find out the frequency. But to me, that's the fun part of watch collection, is that we get to go out and do all of this kind of stuff. Some watches take more than others. The one we were looking at today took a lot. Yeah, I hope so, Joseph. I hope my instincts are good ones. It's I think the extent to which we really enjoy the horology, and I don't want to sound like a stuck record, but if you're going to judge a watch by its resale value, you might as well get into the stock market, because that's a little, get into commodities. That'll really get that move pretty quickly for you. Hey, Thomas, what's up? I think that there are many things to be learned from a GPHG, because, like you say, our eyes are open to new technologies and designs. Yeah, I agree with that too. Also, too, when we're thinking about a watch, who do we talk to? We talk to a bunch of people who don't know any more than we do, and this is what you should get. And I've seen some of these guys, and I won't mention anyone's name, but I've seen some of these videos, and someone says, "This is it. This has got to be the winner. This one I know is going to do it." It's like, well, maybe so, but be careful. Let's see. Hey, Colin, what? Might as well go Rolex. Best resale value. Yeah, either that or buy gold. How's that for a commodity these days? But I think it's important to have something interesting that you like to wear. I've been wearing this one because I just got it back, and it's like having a new watch. I was wearing this one because I finally figured out how to set the moon phase correctly. Final vote. Or by FPJ. Mark, that I in general, I think that you find if you buy the buy the watchmaker, not the brand. And if if you get an FP Journe watch, you're getting one by a real watchmaker. Same with Kari Vuitton. Same with a lot of these different brands that we can get that are by the watchmaker. Unfortunately, some of them are really some of them are crazy expensive. Vuitton, Gronfeld, FP Journe. Those see, the one though. This is why they're one of the best watchmakers, I think, and one of the best watches to get, and one of the best deals is a Harboring 2. One of the things about a Harboring 2, if you're going to get one, you might as well get one new because people don't sell them. You go to the used market, you rarely find them. They're hard to find. Gerald Genta or Daniel Roth for true watchmaking. I agree, Colin. Those guys are, well, actually, it was a funny thing. Genta was more of a designer. I don't think Genta ever did a movement, whereas Daniel Roth, that's all he does now, is he makes these fantastic tourbillon watches and sells them for like over $100,000 a pop, and he makes like 2 or 3 a year. And you can't get them because everybody wants them. That's the same thing with Roger Smith. You got to wait for years to get a Roger Smith. And he's a true artist in that respect. It's a funny thing because a lot of watchmaking, some of the best watchmaking didn't come out of Switzerland. It came out of England. And now I guess Arnold and Son is sort of coming back as a true watchmaker, and a few others are too. But the one true watchmaker in England doesn't live there. He lives on the Isle of Man, I think. Hey, blue shorts, blue shorts, Buddha. That's funny. FPJ recently increased their prices. Yeah, Mark, and it didn't affect sales at all. If you take a look at what's happened to the Chronomet Blue, those things have gone to Mars and back. It's like the entry level FP Journe has gone up 40,000, and every time I look at it, it's gone up another $10,000. But that's the way it is. Their resonance watches are even crazier. They're heading north real quick. I don't know, but that's if you buy one because of the movement, because of the style and so forth, then I think you'd be happy with it. If you buy a watch, this is I don't have anything against Rolexes. Honest to God, I don't. But there's so many other watches I'd rather have. If I had a Rolex, the one I really would like to have is the Air King with the Bloodhound dial on it. But not only would that would get snubbed by a Rolex owner, one of those. But I wouldn't wear it very much. Even though I like them, I saw one today that was a green. What's it called? Perpetual oyster or oyster perpetual. They have one of their oysters, and this is a neat looking watch, but I'd rather have a Harboring 2. I just, but that's not. See, this is the thing that someone said, well, if you don't have a watch, you must hate it. That's not true. You just like other things. You got different tastes. I mean, this is not a watch. Here you have a robin's egg blue Kalpa. It's got one of the things about this that people don't talk about too much is they have really excellent bands on them. The band for that. Hey, Roar the Tiger. Yeah, you're. What have you? You almost got your tail caught in the door. We were closed. Oh, let's see. Hey, Raj again. How you doing? Smithy has about 4 people working for him now, does he? That's Hey, Roar the Tiger. Oh, let's see. Blanc Pain or GJ. I'm not sure what GJ is. Glasuda Original or Blanc Pan are better than Rolex. I said, this is, I think we get into trouble where we do too much of X is better than Y. It's really what we prefer more. And if we look at if we're looking for a certain thing, for example, what I would really love to get my mitts on, but I probably won't be able to afford it unless I find someone who's inherited it and doesn't know what it's worth, would be a Remontoy Galate. One of those, I'd love to have one of those, but they're really expensive. They made 188 of them for Groenfeld, and they sold out pretty quickly. And even if they didn't sell out, I couldn't afford one. So there you have it. What do you think of Denton Company watches, the English watch clockmaker that made the clock in Big Ben? I don't know about their watches. I've heard of them, but I don't know that much about them. Forgot the name of it, but there's this one English watchmaker that makes these beautiful watches. And they're expensive, but they're not insane. Hey, Beauty of Scent, how you doing? Clyde's around, Beauty. Send my lass out to work. I won't say anything. Hey, this name. Have you looked into Sarpaneva watches? They seem to use a lot of soprod movements. This name, yeah, they do. Also, Sarpaneva developed something they call, what do they call it? It's like a lunar later or something like that. It's a movement that they developed for moon phase, I believe. Forgot the name of it, but they patented the name and copyrighted it, and so when they say, and we have a Mooner Raider or something like that. But yeah, you're right. His name Sarpaneva, good watch. They use the Soprod A10, which I love. I thought this had an A10 in it, but it didn't. My watch was supposed to have a Soprod A10, and I was telling everybody it had an A10. Well, they did apparently at one time, and they switched over for a base movement of an ETA. So my series I was so happy because the thing keeps perfect time, and I was bragging about, well, that must be because it has a Soprod in it. Turns out it's a really really well handled ETA. They told me they did some stuff with it and everything else, but I don't believe them. I don't believe anybody. And I mean, watch companies will say anything. Block Pond's ocean commitment is showing leadership to educate watch enthusiasts about the state of our oceans. Oh, that's nice of them. Let's see. Okay. Let's see what's going on. That's Hans. You got to behave yourself, you guys. Hi, Javi. How you doing? Javi. I'm sorry. Hello, Javi. The sound of perpetual moisture, rather. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Oh boy. An upgraded ETA is still an ETA. Hey, Colin, I'm not disagreeing with you. I was you're absolutely right. Apparently, well, they said they did some stuff to the escapement and things like that. I don't know if they're telling me the truth, because I asked them if it was the Soprod A10. They said, "Oh yeah." Well, it wasn't, and they should have told me the truth. But I agree, Colin. I think whatever they did to it, let me put it this way, Colin, it works great. But I think I got the price, for a Christian Vanderclaw was commensurate with the movement. I'll put it that way. I got a good buy on it, and so it was. But it was something else. Doesn't believe the students when they claim the dog ate their research paper. You're absolutely right, Forbin. That's true. The dog would have to eat their whatever. It was have to be a sort of one of these an internet dog ate it, or the internet ate it up. Everything's going virtual now. I mean, remote. All the zinc would go a long, long way. How's it going? Soprod, so good. Yeah, Soprod, they call their A10, which is really has a 4L Seiko base, which is a sweet little movement on it. Florida local, flowers from a brook. Ooh, what a great name. Roar the Tiger. That's a great name. I really like that. Yeah, Bill, beautiful watch. So not knocking. No, I know that. It's one of those things though, I hate getting misinformation. I'll put it that way. I hate getting lied to. It's like none of us should put up with it. And why in the world IWC and Breitling and some of these other watch companies keep coming up with, a phony name for whatever movement they have. And now that ETA pulled the rug from under them, now they're all Salida. And I don't care. It's going to take a long time before people don't see Salida as a cheap copy of an ETA. And so, here you got something called, whatever the brand is, with the initials of the brand in front of a number. And, it turns out not to be what it's supposed to be. I don't like that. Okay, let's see. There are rumors going around that FBJCB will update next year. Have you heard anything about that? No. I get... Yeah, Colin, you're right about that. They are notorious for it. Yeah, no, the thing of it is that the watch business, the business part of it, I could care less about. And I probably shouldn't be that way, because if the business does badly or a watch company goes out of business, that means fewer watches for us. And someone said that greed was a terrible thing, and that describes a lot of the watch collectors. So I don't know, maybe they are. I tell you, the watch I really, really like, but I probably wouldn't buy it even if I could, is the Chronomet Vert, that new green one. That is beautiful. The reason I wouldn't get it, because I already have a Chronomet Serene, and I try not to have two of the same watches. And they have the same movement, and but it's beautiful. I really like the color. I'm going to get a green band, so even though I can't get the green watch, I can get the same band that they have. Oh, was it? Okay, Roar the Tiger. That's cool. That was a weird movie, but it was pretty good. Tag Heuer is probably the worst offender. Yeah, they have. In fact, they even have a like a website called Caliber 11, and Caliber 11 is simply whatever now they're using. There was years ago, Tag Heuer had this big thing about this movement they made, and they were going on and on about it. I never know what happened to that thing, but now they've got these different calibers. There are a lot of fanboys for Tag Heuer, just like there are for Rolex or any other brand. They love Tag Heuers, and that's cool. Whatever whatever floats your boat. Fleur de Lis. The Dubai CS is very interesting. Yeah, it's actually the CV, just like there's Chrononet Blue. This is the Chronomet Vert. Virtual drinking, that wouldn't work. Next year, FPJ will make it in yellow. The Chronomet Bert. For Bert and Ernie. Okay. Oh man, we're way over time. Well, listen, guys, gotta go now. I want to thank everybody for coming. Stay safe. And if you got any further ideas about what we've been talking about, let me know. Take care.